Penultimate piece tonight, just one expose, and it's a bit shorter than normal. I needed to fit a whole heap of other stuff in the last piece. But this is about his story, and it's replete with stories of lost magical cities, and stories such as the lost city of Z, which claimed the life of legendary explorer Percy Fawcett and his son, or the lost city of High Brazil, a technology-advanced phantom island which was known by early mariners to occasionally appear in the Atlantic. That was off the coast, or the southwest coast of Ireland. But there was a similar island the US Navy sailed right underneath it, off the northwest coast of Africa. The whole island suspended in mid-air, and predictably it was all covered up. But High Brazil apparently had crystalline towers of its main city jutting up off the horizon. And those crystalline towers are the same as the city on Antarctica, although they are heavily charred now following some sort of war. But another city in Antarctica, although it may well have been the same one, was covered with a giant dome to bar entry, like a frequency field, and was patrolled by craft not of this earth around its perimeter. Now, let us not forget Atlantis, Lemuria, and even Hyperborea, all said to be mythical islands lost to time or natural disaster. Now, Hyperborea, of course, we will know better as D'Aria, that sank into the ocean following the moon Lelia falling onto the earth 110,000 years ago. And even Shambhala and Agartha, which are said to be lost in the snows of the Himalayas. Perhaps they were islands as well, because what is now known as the Himalayas and mountains was once the Milk Ocean. The whole ocean disappeared. And there are still other lesser known but equally as fascinating lost cities which appear to stand the test of time. And the commonality, they all seem to have some sort of amazing high technology and also appear to be phantoms. And it's one of those fabled cities which we'll now delve into. A city said to be of true amazement, a technological wonderland, a city without a name, which apparently has remained hidden for almost a century. And for more than 30 years there's been a persistent rumour, a rumour which has not been widely reported, but is kind of fascinating nonetheless. And this nameless city buried deep within the Andes Mountains, it's always the mountains, and was founded by none other than Guglielmo Marconi. Yes, that Marconi and his protégés. And it was said to be a city powered by Tesla technology and hidden from the world. And the story as it now exists was originally discussed in a book called The Mysteries of the Andes by Robert Charroux, and was published in 1974. And it was later translated from French and published by Avon Books in 1977. Now, Charroux, a world-class Fortean adventurer, had gone to South America in search of a hidden codex called the ICA Codex, which purported to show a lost human civilization millions of years old, as well as lost underground tunnels and cities. And the story was then picked up by Renato Vasco and published in his book, Man-Made UFOs, and from there it has simmered. And the story goes like this. Marconi, the son of a wealthy Italian family, had started working on radio technology with Tesla and pioneered radio communication. In 1896, he broadcast a transmission 9 miles across the British Channel in the UK, and by 1899 was sending transmissions across the English Channel some 30 miles from his transmitter. In 1901, after improving his transmission equipment, he broadcast a transmission from Cornwall, England to St. John's in Newfoundland, Canada. In 1909, Marconi, along with Karl Braun, I wonder if he's the ancestor of Werner von Braun, was awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics. And by the 1930s, Marconi and his student Landini were working on anti-gravity. They were working on anti-gravity in the 1930s. Again, it shows how far back technology goes. And in fact, Marconi, who by this time was a millionaire many times over, converted his yacht, the Electra, into a floating super lab where they successfully sent signals through the Earth, much in the way Tesla did. In June of 1936, Marconi made another leap forward and demonstrated an energy wave cannon, which was designed for Benito Mussolini on a busy autostrada outside of Milan. Oh my, a direct energy weapon in 1936. And further evidence of the so-called advanced or future technology, which is long in the past. Now, apparently, according to the story at least, Mussolini had asked his wife Rachel to be at the motorway at precisely 3:30 p.m. and Marconi triggered the device, and for over 30 minutes every car suffered a complete electrical failure. And at precisely 3:35 p.m. Marconi switched the device off and the car, including his wife's, started up. And Mussolini was said to have been quite pleased with the result and began to move towards the notion of weaponizing it, as they always do. But this displeased Pope Pius XI, who is said to have taken an interest in the device and was able to prevent further research. And fearing repercussions from the Vatican, Marconi then faked his own death, then sailed his yacht to South America sometime in 1937. Sounds like Hitler. And it is believed that Marconi took some of the brightest minds in Italian research, sounds like Operation Paperclip, when he left, including Fulcanelli and Landini. And the total count was about 98 total scientists who disappeared with Marconi. And their ultimate destination was said to have been in the southern jungles of Venezuela, where they set up a technological utopia complete with free energy motors in 1937. And Tesla technology and even a new kind of aircraft which used a form of anti-gravity, Marconi and Landini were said to have perfected. And it was in that secret city the scientists are said to have perfected many of the free energy and Tesla technologies which we read about today. And they are also said to have dedicated themselves to the peaceful application of these technologies and remained isolated from the rest of society even to this day, and working in the shadows to provide new and updated, ecologically friendly technology. But the story first came to light in the book Mystery of the Andes, and in the book, Robert Charoux discussed having heard the story of the Ciudad Subterránea de los Andes from a Mexican journalist named Mario Rojas Avendaro, who had heard about the city from Caracas to Santiago, which eventually prompted Avendaro to investigate the story further. Now, Avendaro claimed that most of the detailed information of the secret city had come from a man named Niaso Genovese, who had contacted him about his research into the city. Now, Genovese had been a student of Marconi and had spent time with him in the city. And at the time he contacted Avendaro, Genovese was working as a physics teacher at a school in Baja California. And he claimed to have spent a number of years working in the city, and he published an account of an alleged trip to Mars using Tesla Marconi powered flying saucers. In the 1950s, he wrote about the trip in a very rare and frankly odd book entitled My Trip to Mars. Is it a coincidence that the 1950s movies was all about Mars? Maybe not. And a book which, although it was never published in English, did come out in numerous other languages. In discussing the city with Avendaro, Genovese claimed that it had been built with Marconi's fortune, and Marconi before his death had shifted large amounts of his fortune into secret accounts which he accessed to acquire the materials that he needed. And Genovese also claimed that by 1946 the scientists had built a massive cosmic energy collector based on Marconi's improvement of Tesla's original designs. And he also went into some detail about the massive and amazing research facilities they had constructed, saying it was probably the greatest laboratory ever built on the planet. And by 1952, Genovese claimed they had constructed a new type of aircraft with an almost limitless supply of energy, and scientists had used it to explore almost the entire globe, including the oceans. And the craft was said to be able to accelerate to 500,000 miles per hour, and was built out of a new alloy which could withstand the enormous pressures of the deep ocean, as well as travelling through the atmosphere at extremely high speeds or high rates of speed. And he said the only problem with the device had was acceleration, and it was something that the scientists were still working on. And I think going 500,000 miles an hour is suffice for us travellers anyway. And the implication was that the device was also capable of stellar and possibly interstellar travel, and it had also been used to visit various planets in the solar system. Prometheus, anyone? All sounds very Stargate to me. And he said, we know from Genovese that he claimed regular trips were being made to the moon and Mars, and the implication being that an outpost could have possibly been set up at one or both of those locations. Avendaro then pressed Genovese for the location of the secret city, and he responded by saying that it was located at the bottom of a crater, was mostly underground, and was at almost 13,000 feet above sea level. And it is believed that the city is located in an extinct volcano in the eastern Andean Cordillera, somewhere in the Bolivian or Venezuelan mountains. And it seems to be where the story ended, and no further investigations has been made since. But some researchers have hypothesized that Tesla, having been contacted by Marconi, faked his death and also travelled to the magical city. But is a hidden high-tech city really feasible? Given the region where the city is supposedly hidden and the sheer size and vastness of the unexplored land in that region, it is completely plausible such a city could indeed exist, was the question of the author, especially if that scientists there had perfected free energy and anti-gravity. With those two technological leaps, there really is no limit to what they could have achieved. And is this Ciudad Subterránea de los Andes, or underground cities of the Andes, real? The author said we will probably never know for sure, but it does remain one of the more mysterious and enigmatic hidden cities of legend. If it is real, there was certainly the brainpower required to make such stunning technological advancements, but for now it will have to remain a lost city. In my opinion, both Tesla and Marconi were working with other beings in that region. And notice it always involves a mountain, because they are portals, or were in some cases. And Tesla, is clear to me, was a hybrid. He was dropped off in the middle of Yugoslavia, and the farmer parents adopted him. And perhaps in relation to Marconi, there's a clue. The asteroid 1332 Marconia is named in his honour, and a large crater on the far side of the moon is also named after him. And just like the crater of this underground facility, is it one and the same, and explains why it has not been located.